So, what is a Total War 3 Kingdoms? I want to try something different with my channel. I want to try and, let's just say, make some sort of explanation video without much editing and just tell it raw to you, my audience. For the 50 people who watch this video, of course. But this is Total War 3 Kingdoms. I know this game is a bit old, but I still wanted to cover this on my channel. So, Total War 3 Kingdoms. This is an historical game based on the novel A Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I highly recommend you read this novel, or at least have played some of the Dynasty Warriors games where you play an overpowered Cao Cao or Lu Bu, so that you can experience some historical aspects about Three Kingdoms and the rich history that is China. So yeah, let's just start by looking at the options. I wanted to first show you what my specs are. So yeah, this game came out a couple of years ago. So let's just say my PC is a little beefy. I run RTX 3080 with the latest Ryzen 9 series. So yeah, let's just say I have a pretty beefy PC. And yet this game kinda lacks the optimization you let's just say expect from a Total War game. But I'm not going to hold the developers on this because I know it's quite hard and quite difficult to optimize a game that continually gets patched and updated with new DLC. And I know that Total War games have those problems and those issues, especially the newest titles like Warhammer 2 had many problems when all the DLCs came out, and at the end they had to do a big optimization patch before this released Warhammer 3. So yeah, Three Kingdoms kind of stopped its development, and so we're a bit left with a semi-optimized Total War game, but it still runs great. It's not Attila territory. But yeah, these are my specs. Yeah, I kind of beefed it up to the max. And I still run at around 60 FPS. During the most intensive battles it runs like 40 FPS. And yeah, I prefer those settings because I want to just look at the graphics. For me, personally, if it hits 60 most of the time, it's okay by me. This game doesn't really need a 250 refresh rate FPS monitor gaming like other games, so yeah. These are my specs. If you run a mid-range PC, then I highly recommend you go for medium or high in texture quality. Shadow detail, yeah, it's set on extreme. I know it affects performance. For this video I'm going to set it on ultra. Extreme, if you truly want to have the best shadow detail, you can put it on extreme, but yeah, it kinda runs hot during the summer days like today, and your PC will kind of cook to a maximum degree. VFX details, yeah, personally you can almost set every detail on high. Ultra is just to have that extra fidelity in your games, but it's not necessary. Anti-aliasing, I always set it on TAA high. Texture filtering, I always set it to 16 or 8. And yeah, personally, it's your preference if you want to see your grass detail on ultra, terrain or building. I personally don't really care about grass detail being on ultra. And for this purpose, I'm going to set it all on high. Unit size, I put it on extreme. Yeah, it's the same type of remark they say, like it will affect your performance, and yes, it does affect your performance because you will have the maximum unit size that you see on your unit cards. Well, in previous games, when you see a unit size like you have 60 units, they mostly will spread those units out and make it look like you're playing with 60, let's just say 60 characters in one unit. But yeah, if you want to set it on the small unit size, then you will have smaller stacks. And if you go to ultra, you will have probably the most accurate number of units. Well, let's just say characters in one unit. but if you put it on extreme, you will have the maximum amount in every single unit. So if you have a 120, let's just say spearmen, you will have that. So for me personally, I want to see the full, really massive scale armies and fights, so I always put it on extreme. If your PC can handle it, I truly recommend it. Otherwise, put it on ultra. It's you don't really see the difference, but yet it's still pretty much the same aspect as extreme, but a little bit less characters in one unit. Depth of field, I also set it to high. Post effects, I always set it to romance because I want to have the romance of the Three Kingdoms style of romantic storytelling, of having those effects and colors. Yeah, you can clearly see it. That's also one of the best tips I can give you. If you don't know what VFX means, what's texture filtering means, or what it does, you can always put your cursor above the text and you will see a pop-up telling you what that specific, let's just say, feature does to your game. And so yeah, all the rest is set to on except VSync. I don't really have screen tearing, so I don't put it on. It puts an extra strain on my FPS, and I don't like it. Ultimate video memory, yeah, if you have enough video memory, you can click it on. I will do this for the purpose of this video. I will confirm it. For the rest, yeah, you can tweak your settings, your audio settings. You can even, if you truly want that historical experience, you can have Chinese audio voiceover, diplomacy voiceovers, and even a Chinese audio advisor. If you really want that true Chinese experience, you can also put on subtitles, and then you can read all the Chinese language translated in English. Your controls, I don't really mess around with this because I use the default control scheme. Yeah, if you want to change something about your camera, you can do this. It's always been practically the same unchanged features like in previous Total War. This is more of a thing that I like because accessibility is becoming more and more common in video games, and I like this because yeah, you have your color options. If you're colorblind, you can change your colors into more that suits your playstyle or your eye vision. And battle, yeah, if you want to change some things in your interface, you want to have your default guard mode. What is guard mode? Guard mode is your units won't chase an enemy when you say attack that enemy. So yeah, that's all. You can all change this if you want. And you have your advisory. You can also change a bit of that. If you want to have a higher advisory level, you can do this. What's advisory level? Yeah, that's someone who talks to you about, what's that feature? What's this feature? What's this? So yeah, you can put it on. I personally set it to low because I have a ton of experience playing Total War games, and I've played a lot of this in the beginning when it launched, and so I'm a bit more custom with the game. So yeah, if you want to start a new campaign, you click on new, and then yeah, I have all the DLCs enabled. And if you want to play a character, you can start off with the recommended. I personally truly recommend what Total War says here, and play one of those 4, or let's just say 5. If you don't have the DLC, then you will see those 4, and if you have the DLC, even the latest DLC, you will be able to also pick Menghuo. I will apologize in advance if I pronounce some Chinese names the wrong way. I'm not native Mandarin, so I will probably butcher some of those names. So yeah, as you can see, if you have all the DLCs enabled, you will have truly a big selection of characters to choose from. And yeah, here is also the timeline. So if you start the game, you will have Rise of the Warlords timeline set. That's the default timeline of Total War Three Kingdoms. This is where your base game start date is. And if you have all the DLCs enabled, you can go into the Mandate of Heaven a couple of years before the Rise of the Warlords, and then after that you have A World Betrayed, you have Fates Divided, and then you have the 8 Princes. So yeah, and if you truly want to pick one of those, you can see that the map changes. Yeah, you hear that a woman is telling you the story about Cao Cao, and yeah, that's also one of those nice things about Three Kingdoms, and you can truly see they put in a lot of detail into those games. And I'm really happy in how the historical team at CA did this. They truly didn't spare any expense in communicating everything to you, even with voiceovers. And I truly appreciate this when a developer goes above and beyond what's required of them. Because previous Total War games didn't really have those, let's just say, voiceovers that told you, this is that character or this is that faction. No, Three Kingdoms is one of those games that truly tells you about, this is Cao Cao, this is how he works, this is the time period. And yeah, if I click on Liu Bei,
keeps one honest.
then you hear his voiceover, and then she narrates what he does and what he is.
The potential to be something
so yeah,
greater.
if you want to start one, you can pick one of those factions. If you have all the DLCs enabled, you can pick a lot of different, let's just say, characters. And then you can go and start a campaign. But I won't do that because I want to show you where my campaign almost ended. And I started the campaign with Liu Bei. And let's just say this is turn. As you can see, I've ended my campaign with a lot of different notifications. So where do we start? So yeah, this is the map of China, let's just say of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, China. And yeah, it's one of those bigger Total War maps. You have a lot of provinces, as you can see. The UI is, in my opinion, one of the most prettiest UI I have seen since Total War Shogun 2. You can clearly see that they put in the real Chinese detail of the ink, and when you go over and look at all the emblems, you clearly see that it's all Chinese inspired, and that's one of those first aspects that I truly loved about this game, and that's the aspect of let's make it historical first by utilizing a book that's famous across the world, but also capture what that culture, what that feeling was like during that time, and they try and capture it in the UI as well. So yeah, if we start and look over to our left, here you can see in what year it settled, in what season it settled, how much you have, what's your economy, and how much you gain per turn. As you can see, I have a really pretty strong economy because this is my lands. This is what I've conquered so far. I've conquered two of the Three Kingdoms, and yeah, let's just say that the money floats really well after a certain point. And then yeah, you have your food. How much food do you have? Food is a pretty big aspect in this game. Food is probably one of the most valuable currencies in the entirety of Three Kingdoms. They also took a bit from Total War Attila, because in Total War Attila you also had food as a pretty big resource. In that game, when seasons, let's just say when the Huns ravaged the lands, the fertility in some parts of the area started to wane down, and you started to lose fertility and lose food, and so food starts to become a pretty, let's just say, rare resource at the end of the game. And here is kind of a bit of the same thing. You have your food and you can pretty much trade it with many factions who at some point really don't have much food, and they will even trade in their wives so that they can eat. So that's one of the funniest things in the game, in my personal opinion. And then you have your resources, what you have acquired during your, let's just say, domination campaign. And yeah, as you can see, because I have pretty much half of China, I have almost every resource except spice and tea. These are your buffs. In every Total War game you will have some events that will pop up, and they will say, do you want to pick this or do you want to pick this? And then when you choose one of two actions, or maybe three or four, a sort of, let's just say, buff will happen. It can be a debuff or a buff for your empire or your soldiers. And so as you can see here, the satisfaction is high because I have pretty much everyone is happy in my empire. dominant strategic threat. Most factions don't like me because I'm becoming let's just say I'm a huge warmonger. I have pretty much claimed everything surrounding China, so yeah, the rest of the world hates me. And during a point in the campaign when the three kingdoms really start to form and you have three really big, let's just say, empires that form during mid of the game, then pretty much it's a free-for-all. In most of the smaller factions will side with one of the three, let's just say, bigger empires of the game. And yes, this is what happens during the mid let's just say around 100 turns into the game. You will rank up lots of vessels and you will have to pick and choose which one you will suck into your empire and which one you will just leave as a vessel, because those decisions are really important during that phase. And yeah, as you can see, because I'm an empire, I have all those, let's just say, abilities, buffs and debuffs. On your left you will have your notifications. If you want to know what notification this is, you can click on it with left mouse button and then you can read what happens. And yeah, if you don't want to read this all, you can just right click and dismiss of all those notifications. At some points I don't even bother reading my notifications, only if they are really important. And here, also in most Total War games, you have your, let's just say, your side buttons, your quick access buttons as I call it. And here you can see your missions at a glance, what characters you all have in your empire. As you can see, I have a lot of characters, and you have pretty much, this is a tooltip heaven game. Creative Assembly took a lot of time and work to create the most amount of tooltips. And so yeah, if you just float over one character, you can already see his character sheet, his screen. And if you right click, no info overlay, then you can have the full screen about this character. And yes, just a little bit about Liu Bei. This is your character, this is the one you start with, or if you pick this specific character. And yes, I'm always talking about characters. This is not a faction-based game, this is a character-based game. This is not a game where you truly are an empire. You are a character who builds an empire, who has a family, who builds out his family, his relationship with his characters, with other characters and his generals. So yeah, this game is, in my opinion, the Crusader Kings of the Total War games, and this is why I love this game so much. So yeah, this is Liu Bei. He's a virtuous idealist. As you can see, these are his quirks, and this is what he likes and dislikes. Here you can pretty much see all his virtues, and yeah, the game tries to convey a sense of rock paper scissors also in his character progression. And one of those rock paper scissors systems is the, let's just say, the 5-color system. I call it the 5-color system, and that's the expertise, the resolve, the cunning, the instinct, and the authority. Every single color has some sort of, let's just say, bonus that you can level up that will increase some aspect of the game. If you want to have your expertise, that's what's, let's just say, the construction cost will be lessened. If you pick your resolve, your generals' health will be much larger and your population growth will be much bigger. If you pick cunning for Liu Bei, you will have more ammunition, more military supplies. If you pick instinct, that's a more aggressive melee type of skill, and you will have more melee damage, less recruitment cost, and you will always have something that you will pick and choose from. And this is represented in the skills. As you can see here, you have different set of skills. Every character has his own set of skills. You will also have some characters that have a default set of skills, but this, because Liu Bei is a historical character, it has let's just say, more he has a unique skill tree. And as you can see, you can pick from different skills. They're all, in my opinion, pretty much worth it to pick, but you have to choose. At some point you will not be able to pick everything. I will at least I didn't have the ability to pick everything. And then you will see your military. How is your military? How is your unit statistics? how are your units, and what are your abilities in combat. That's pretty much always here. And then your relationships. This is also one of the biggest gameplay parts about this game. Picking and choosing your relationships. As you can see, Liu Bei has his own wife, Lady Mi. Yes, I married someone from a different faction just so that I can have, let's just say, a pretty romantic relationship and have children. And these are all your generals. These are the one in green that like you. You can also see that they also like you and you like them. Then you have people that also really, let's just say the red ones are your nemesis people who dislike you, who don't really love your manner or your leadership. And then if you float over them, you can see why they hate you. And you can pretty much look and see what different characters you want in your army, because if you have Liu Bei in one army and you have 2 different other generals, then you need to be pretty careful, because they will not really be happy after some while being in your army, having to take your word as their command. And that's not really, let's just say, a healthy relationship. Just like in real life, you don't want to be with someone or work with someone that you despise or he or she despises. So and these are also your traits, because Liu Bei has a specific set of traits. You will always start with these types of traits, and also with others during the game you will also gain some traits, and that's something that's pretty much occurrent in newer Total War games. And also this is, in my opinion, one of the best smaller things that you will be able to do and pick your loadouts. As you can see, I have the best of the best, the unique, the exotic items for Liu Bei. His armor, you can also pick his horse, and it kind of changes when you pick them. You see his portrait changes. If I choose another weapon or pick his weapon, you will get to see those types of weapons in the battlefield, and that's what I like the most. If I pick, let's just say, this set of armor, no, I cannot pick the others, I'm only set for this one. But if I pick another set of armor, you will see his portrait change into that armor set. That's all those smaller details that I personally really like about this game. And then you have your mount, your followers. You can pick a follower, and this will increase some of your 5, let's just say, abilities or traits. And I've picked the representationist. Oh, my English. And he gives me plus 15 cunning. So that's pretty much what's on this page. Here you can also see that I'm an emperor. Here you can at a glance see what my abilities are, well, what my buffs are. This shows me that I'm so far a general, that I'm commanding an army. This is the upkeep cost. So Liu Bei costs 764 coins, and let's just say that's a lot of money. And then you will have what grudge you have. So I have a grudge against a specific kingdom, the kingdom of Cao, and where my loyalties lied in the past. So that's pretty much fun to see. So that's the character-based screen, and here you can clearly see your armies. When I click on one, here you can see the army where Liu Bei is. I have also Zhang Fei, and I have Guan Yu in my army, and here you can clearly see what types of units I have per division. These are all my provinces that I will be able to pick. I will pick one to show you an example. So here, this is one of those examples I wanted to show you. So let's just say I want to go to that specific kingdom, let's just say settlement. And here, this is a settlement screen. Here you can see what settlement it is. If you click on it, you will be zoomed into the settlement. The assignment is what governor do you want to assign to this province. And yeah, I don't have really many people assigned to this 0, as you can see here. If I assign 1, I can pick and choose what it will give me as bonus. If I put YFin into my settlement, it will give me plus 25 satisfaction for 5 years. That's a lot of turns, but minus 5 unity. Unity is pretty much important. If your unity is low, let's just say that rebellions could happen. So yeah, you can do this, and then you in every Total War game you can exempt this from tax, so that you won't get any money from the settlement. If I click on it, you will clearly see that I'm getting minus 50 now, because yeah, let's just say I'm not gaining money, but I'm losing money because I have buildings that require upkeep. So yeah, I will turn this back on. And here it shows you that I'm so far at 31 food in this settlement, and that at this moment it's, let's just say, giving me surplus of foods. And here you can see that it's giving me so far 31 and minus 2 food distribution for my people. And here it shows you the public order, how happy is this population so far. The population is extremely happy. It's plus 10, so yeah, it's going well. And then here you have your reserves. Reserves is also one of the bigger parts of the game. Reserve is something that you will have to contend with at a regular basis, because when you have lots of armies here, enemy armies or even allied armies, your reserve will start to tick down, and you will have, let's just say, you will lose food in this province, because so many different units are in one province. They will all eat from the same stack, and so it's important that you look up and see if your reserves are always up to snuff, because when you're invaded or another enemy faction takes your whole settlement, yeah, that reserve will also start to tick down. So you will need to be really careful about this. This is the amount of population. As you can see here, only here I already have 2.3 million people. That gives me a lot of different bonuses. As you can see here, it gives me plus 75 bonus income on all resources, etc, etc. And here are the smaller buffs and debuffs. The general effect here is that I have plus 4 public order and minus 15 corruption. As you can also see, corruption is also a big part of this game. Corruption has always been Total War's way of keeping you in check for not being able to snowball the entire game. In my opinion, Three Kingdoms has the best type of not snowballing you at the end of the game, because in many other Total War games, every veteran who sees this video will say say the same thing, and that's that after a while, when you know the system, when you gain, let's just say, when you know all the elements about every aspect of the game, you will be able to, let's just say, take use of it and maybe even gain it to your advantage. And during turn 110, you will have the most powerful army, most powerful faction in the entire game, and you will be able to snowball everyone. You don't even really need to fight them, because you can always auto-resolve it. And so yeah, after a while the challenge wears off, and so yeah, there's pretty much no challenge in the game. And corruption has always been that sort of break. When you rise up and become more and more powerful, have more and more settlements, corruption is going to get stacked up, and after a while you will have a lot of corruption. You can negate a bit of corruption by doing some research or having some governors take away corruption, but overall it will keep you from snowballing the economy and becoming more powerful. And in this game, I truly think that this is the best balance they've gotten in years, in my opinion, because yes, I am at a pretty high number in economy, but yet I needed to do a lot of things to get to this point. Yeah, it's still kind of easy to get to a point where you're snowballing everyone. My difficulty so far is on hard. I always start this game on hard because I have already experienced some Total War games in the past, and I'm pretty confident in the hard mode. If the game sees that you're gaining the system and you're really getting more powerful at a fast rate, and they start to feel that you're not having the challenge you want, at some point in the game you will have the option to increase your difficulty. The game will say, do you want to increase your difficulty? And then you can pick the difficulty they recommend. In one of those instances, I was pretty much already the emperor of China, and yeah, the game all said at that point you pretty much wiped out everyone. Do you want to become do you want to change your difficulty to legendary? And so I said yes. So yeah, corruption. Just to let you know, this is a check from the Creative Assembly team, just to not be able to snowball the entire game. In some games it works, in others it doesn't really work. But in this game, I pretty much feel that yeah, it's in good hands. So yeah, those are the local effects, and yeah, this shows you that I have low fertility because I have now less income for my peasantry. Here I'm upgrading my settlement from small city to a city, and this is also one of those things that I appreciate a ton about Creative Assembly and their way they handled the historical aspect about this game. As I said in the beginning of this video, I love the UI, I love pretty much everything about it. It conveys a lot of information to the player, you're never feeling lost. There's a lot of tooltips, it's probably one of the best in the franchise for helping new players get into Total War. And this game also has a lot of UI elements that conveys your evolution in your cities, in your empire, and one of those things is the hand-drawn pictures you can see when you want to upgrade some parts of your empire, like this one, the Shu Han text collection. You start off with a small building and you go way up to let's just say a huge building, and it's always super nice to see this, and you can see this in every single building. You have different trees, you have different set of systems you can go through, what's better, you can specialize in some buildings, and that is one of those games that I find that the empire building is as fun as the battle system. In past games you have some Total War games, I will give an example like Rome 2. In the beginning the game was pretty much, it ignored its empire based gameplay for more battle oriented gameplay, and let's just say after Rome 2 they also streamlined a lot of the UI, making it a lot more simple and let's just say less tasteful in my personal opinion. But when I saw this game came out and I saw the first gameplay and I saw the UI, I immediately thought, yes, this is Shogun 2, this is a focus on empire and Total War, so this is what I wanted, and this is pretty much the game that balances the two in a pretty much perfect way. It has its problems, but overall the balance in empire and battles is really good in this one, because you will have really big problems after a while if you don't keep focusing on your specialization, your buildings. Do you want to have a lot of farm villages? Yes, you have a lot of farm villages when you capture a lot of cities, but having a ton of farm villages is a good thing because you have a lot of food, but you also have to balance it with a tax building or something that gives you the opportunity to tax extra on all the food you're getting into your empire. So yeah, that's pretty much the funnest thing about this game. So you always have to think, okay, what's better, this or this? And yeah, that is one of the best things about this game. So as you can see here, I have in this city, I have 3 extra buildings. When I upgrade it more and more and more, I will be able to have more and more buildings. Like here, I will be able, when I upgrade this, I will be able to have an extra slot for building something. If I build this one, I will have 5 slots, 6 slots, 6 as the same thing, but I will have more income, and then I could have an imperial city, and 6 is really the maximum amount of buildings you can have in one big city complex. And yes, once again, here it's not really a specialization, you just go up the ladder until you have an imperial city. But once again, it's not really like in previous games. You will always have to look out and watch out what you're upgrading. You can't upgrade every single city to an imperial city. It won't happen. You won't be able to, because you will drown in food, in minus food. You will drown in probably in some buildings with income. So it's really important to keep an eye on all those building features. And then you have your specialized buildings. In the Total War Saga game, Thrones of Britannia, they introduced a system where you can, let's just say, conquer smaller specialized buildings into in the game, but it wasn't really the best way to introduce this, because you really didn't have a garrison, and it was pretty much always the same thing. You conquered it, the AI took it over, you didn't really have the opportunity to defend it only with an army, you didn't have any garrisons, and you always had to flip-flop between taking it back and trying conquering other players. It was a bit of a mess, but here they simplified it a bit more and gave it a little bit more flavor. So yeah, here you have your specialized building. It also has settlement, and if you want to look and click on your garrison, as you can see, you also have a personal garrison in those buildings. So the flip-flopping between conquering, losing is over in this game. And yeah, if you click on it, you can see this is a specialized building, and you will be able to specialize it even further. As you can see here, I have my tools, and here in the tools, this is one of those things I talked about a bit in a previous segment, that you can specialize. So here I can specialize in artisan tool manufacturer, or I can specialize in industrial. And then you will have to see, wait, here I will get plus 300 income in industry, but I will be able to have more trade influence, maybe even be able to trade more money than when I have this one, because here I don't have any influence. I just get a bit of prestige, income, reserve capacity. But if I pick this one, I will be able to have a little bit more trade influence. So yeah, you will be able to pick and choose, but it's always kind of balanced out. So if I pick this one, yes, I get more trade influence, but I lose a bit of income in industry. If I pick this one, I get the full amount of income in industry, but I lose my trade influence. So you have to choose: do I want that 100 plus income more? Because at the end of the game, when you pretty much don't have any trade agreements left, because it's a free-for-all, you will lose that bonus of influence, because you really don't have many other people you can influence with your trade, because everyone is already a vassal or not really in your diplomatic range, so to speak. So yeah, then at the end of the game, this extra income really does help. So you can really choose what you want and what your empire needs to be. So yeah, this is the building system. In my opinion, one of the best since Shogun 2. It's one of the most complicated to learn from. Even in the beginning when I played this, I really had to relearn many aspects, because it was almost every time it was binary. In previous Total War games, it was a binary system in some way. You had your economic building, you had your military building, and you had your building for culture or other aspects in that specific game. And in this game, yes, you also have that binary system, but it's more complicated. You have more choices. You will be able to pick different styles of buildings, even branch out in a specific building. And every single branching out of a building will have consequences that you will in the beginning not really see, but during the campaign will have to keep an eye out and have to change some buildings. During my campaign, I had to change a lot of buildings because I focused a lot on the food economy. But after a while, I started to conquer more and more merchant buildings, and I started to see that my economy started to collapse because commerce gave me more and more money. Food didn't really give me the money I wanted. The diplomacy started to fail because I became more and more war hungry. So not many people wanted to trade with me, and so I had to change a couple of buildings and had to change the way I wanted to do business, So I started to change a lot of buildings, and yeah, I pretty much completely erased my previous style of building. And yeah, and now you can see that I have one of the best economies in the game. So yeah, it's a really fun system to try out and play for yourself. Then at first, I will go and click on Liu Bei. So here, once again, here you can see the biggest summary screen in the game. On your left, you can see who you picked. You have a nice little animation of your flag. And then here you can see what's, let's just say, items or even units or skills you get when you pick Liu Bei. And in the beginning of the game, you start as a noble, and when you conquer more and more cities, you will be able to rank up until you become king. And this is probably one of the best and funnest moments in the game, because when you become king, let's just say the tables will be set and the Game of Thrones, no pun intended, starts, and you will be able, and you will face off against the other two competitors that have risen up to claim the title of emperor. Because at one point everyone says, no, I'm the emperor, and you will have to fight two other big factions, and that's when the real end game starts. And this is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to keep the challenge into this game, because you will, in some cases, you will not be able to defend yourself well, and you will lose territory. I lost a lot of territory during my game, and I had to reconquer most of it during one game, and in the other game I pretty much held on to most of my continents, but had diplomatic and internal problems with my family. So it really keeps the balance of power in check with this system. So yeah, at that point you will be able to fight the other two factions. You won't be able to say, here is a peace treaty, let's do a quick peace. No. They will fight you until they conquer you or you conquer them. So yeah, that's one of the biggest parts of the game. On the right side you will see what you all have, what your allies are, your vassals, your trade agreements, and which factions you're at war with. And here you can see the total summary of everything. So yeah, and you can also have the statistics. Okay, so my current turn is 135, 26 years have passed, etc, etc. And so yeah, here, courts. This is probably one of the most happiest moments of my life when I first started this game in the Total War history. Seeing this made me so happy, because I finally had another political aspect in the Total War game that I really started to miss in previous games. So yeah, this is your court. At the top, of course, you have your emperor, your character that you picked in the beginning of the game. Then you have your faction heir, and then you have all those other positions. But hold on, because before you think, oh wait, this is what you start with, no. Because you are emperor, you will get more and more positions of power that you will be able to pick generals from and put them in your court. And so yeah, they will give you all sorts of bonuses. Like if you put this character in that position, you will have all those extra bonuses. But that makes the game also that more fun, because if you put someone who hates you, who hates your politics, who hates your guts, and wants to secede, the moment you put someone in your Grand Command, they will trigger a civil war. So you have to be careful. You can't put any general into that position. They also need to rank up to get that amount of influence so that you can put them in your court. And once you do that and they secede, they will branch off and create their own faction, and you will have to fight them to the death. So yeah, it's a really extremely fun system. You have your administrators, you have your lower ranks, and these are the bigger ones. And when you put one into a specific position, you will be able to get some, let's just say, faction council missions, but I will get to that later. Then you have your family tree. That's also nice to see it back, and in my opinion, in its most beautiful way. It's not tucked away in menus. No, it's here to stay, and you will always be able to look at it and see what your family is up to, or who's in your family who died, etc, etc. And these are also all your nobles. And then you have your characters. This is a big social web. This is the Facebook of the old days. Who likes you, who hates you, what their age is, what their specific traits are. Here you can see it in detail. You can even search for a character. And then you have one of the biggest and best additions to Three Kingdoms, and that is your diplomacy. They completely revamped the diplomacy in Three Kingdoms, in my opinion, for the better. Because in the past it was a binary system of, do you want trade? Yes. Okay. No, I don't want trade. Do you want to be an ally? Yes, I want to be an ally. And you can have that binary decision making. If you want to see who wants peace, then you can click peace, and you will see, oh yes, they want, those who want peace, those maybe want peace. Non-aggression. Here you have your typical diplomacy binary systems, and that's really fun to see, because if you don't want to negotiate and really have the diplomacy feeling like
Not
being a
you
real
again.
counselor, then yeah, you can pretty much go to quick deal and just do it in an instance. But if you really want to start and gain the system and know what to do, then you can start and go and look, oh, I want to have wars, I want to have war support, I want to have a trade, I want to know, okay, they give me that much, okay, now I will give them food, perfect, I can put in a little bit more money that they need to give me. Oh, -4, that's not good, they won't trade it with me. +1, oh, perfect, I will propose the deal, and the deal is
offer to be
signed.
cherished.
Yeah, it's a really fun system, and it goes far in this game, because
Speaker,
let's just say
your very
here I am
presence
at war.
repulses me.
I can say, oh, I want peace, I want a peace treaty. No, I won't do that. So I will say call to arms, issue negate.
Our answer will be focused
Voila.
and decisive.
Now everyone will start a war with the faction that I just declared war on a couple of turns ago. And so yeah, that's the diplomacy system. It goes really in depth. Just to quickly show you, here you can see how big it gets at some moment. Here you can create an empire, you can form coalitions. Coalitions is also one of the big new systems in the game. You can sort of form a clan of with different factions, and that clan at some point will say, oh, I want to have that person join our clan, I want that person to join our clan. And after a while, when you want to upgrade your clan into a real, let's just say, faction, a separate clan faction, then yes, you can upgrade that, and you will have to have the support of other clan members, and that's a really fun system to have, especially when you play with in multiplayer. So I won't go into much detail, I want to give the surprise to you so that you can experience it for yourself. And next is the technology tree, or the reform tree. It's not really a technology tree, because you will get every 5 turns the opportunity to pick and choose another, let's just say, reform to have. But this, as you can see, is a beautiful, one of the most beautiful technology reform trees I've seen in a Total War game to date. If you pick one, the tree starts to blossom, and when you start to branch out in new reforms, then you will see, and the game will add a branch to it, and you will be able to keep growing the tree until you have a certain branch element. So yeah, it's a really fun way, a beautiful way to see how far you've come with your reforms. And yes, you have different branches. This is the more spy branch, the philosophy branch, this branch, and it's all based on the color system that I talked about before. And every branch has different abilities and different buffs, and even building slots that you will be able to upgrade. Then you have the network system. Network system is also completely reformed. Spies in previous games were units that you could go across the map with and spy on different generals, murder generals, poison wells, etc. But in this game they are truly an invisible thing. So if I say, oh, I want to have a spy, I pick someone I think is good for me, and yes, I say Y-Wing will be, apologies, will be a spy, and I want him to spy on the Kingdom of Wu. I can deploy him, and then okay, so now he's a spy. He will need to set up a spy network, and now I will pick someone else. I will say he will spy on her. So yeah, why is it not able to do this? No, no, no. Nope. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Okay, no, no, no. So yeah, this, now I have a spy network, and you will be able to do different types of things, like also poison wells, poison, open the doors to a settlement, or even infiltrate an army and really start getting into the ranks and becoming a general, and then your spy can secede from the entire faction and claim that entire army for your own. It goes extremely deep. You can even, and I've not really gained that system so far, but you can completely murder the entire family of another faction and claim the entire faction as your own at some point in the game. So yeah, that's a really fun system to do. I can highly recommend you try out this system if you buy this game, or if you already have this game, try it out even more and play around it. It's a really fun system. As you can see here, you have your records modes. I won't get into much detail. And then here is the faction council. If you have positions in your faction and they're all filled with different characters, then you will be able to do missions for them. As you can see here, they will hold courts every new year, and then they will have different missions for you to do. And so yeah, this is pretty much what this game is. Yes, you can also go into battle and have battles. I will probably do this in another video or not, because I know that pretty much everyone has already played this game. I just wanted to test out how I will do this type of videos in the future. I hope you like and subscribe if you love these types of videos. I will try and become better at it, even be better in pronouncing some names. But yeah, this is Total War 3 Kingdoms. This is probably one of the best Total War games you can buy right now, if not counting the Warhammer series, which I will probably do a new video on in the next couple of weeks, maybe months. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and see you later, guys.